You are in the multifamily or investing space. You know this young man, Christian Osgood. He's been on the channel before, a good friend of mine. We've spoken on stages together, but we're going to catch up with him because it's been a minute. Christian, you got so much going on, but I think the biggest thing, the biggest joy in life is you are a dad now. Is that right?
Dude, for all of the businesses and real estate and all the fun stuff that that I get known for online, being a dad is the coolest thing that I have done by far. It is awesome. It is just as challenging as any of the companies, and it is 10 times as rewarding. Being a dad
Uh,
is fantastic.
how long? How old is the little one?
It's just about 9 months. He
Wow, that's very
just
cool.
started saying dad this week. So this is
No,
we're on first words now. Technically, he said we're debating because we're like, does dad have his first word? He was saying last week, mama, mama, ma. And I'm like, well, technically, 6 ma's is not mama. But he can look at my wife,
I
Danny, and he calls her mama, mama, ma. And now he looks at me and he goes, dada. I'm like, I think I count, but
no.
well,
When in doubt, dude, give it to the mom. She did all the work. You
yeah,
didn't. Yeah, your
Danny is
participation in this was a couple
amazing.
of minutes.
Yeah, my wife is an amazing mother. That's been another really fun part about being a dad is watching how
That's
how
awesome.
your spouse becomes a mother. That is been a
Very, very
really,
cool.
really cool thing and just amazing for our marriage.
Yeah, that's amazing. Shout out to you and Danny, and congrats on the little one. One of the things I know about your story is obviously it started up in Seattle, Washington, or up in Washington, but the goal was always to seemingly always to get to Texas. Have
Mhm.
you made that leap? What's going on there?
Yes, we are officially in Texas. The dream was retire my wife from teaching. If anyone is, I don't care what politics you have, teaching in Seattle kindergarten is bad.
Yeah,
School,
you think?
school districts not good. I don't think anyone on any political spectrum is like, wow, Seattle's school district is just not a bunch of crazy people. So we rescued her from that. We wanted to start a family in not Seattle. I spent my first 33 years of life in Seattle. Right after my 33rd birthday, finally made it to Texas. I went on a trip to Texas. It must have been 4.5, 5 years ago. This is right when I was starting my investing journey. I just closed on my first 38 unit building. Went down to Texas. And when I got to Dallas, is the first time I've ever been anywhere in the world where I just immediately went, I'm supposed to be here. I did
Hmm.
not know that Dallas existed. It does not rain a lot. And when it does, it rains really hard for 30 minutes to an hour. It is
Yeah,
opposite of Seattle. I love everything about Texas.
that is awesome. That's awesome. Well, obviously, you grew up. You're known in the business for building a monster portfolio. You did that with a partner for a while now. I think you're doing a lot on your own. Where does the portfolio kind of sit today? And then we'll get into what you're actually doing today.
So, portfolio, I have roughly
Right.
100 units and a resort in Washington State. And we've been able to shift the pieces. Cody Davis moved to the city where we started our portfolio.
Hmm.
He sold off a lot of his buildings and now manages a smaller portfolio. That we call that right sizing. He has a goal where different objectives.
Sure.
A really interesting piece of the business. And this is actually a good place to share it because I don't talk too much about the partnership, but perfectly aligned for our first goal. We both wanted to see what it was like to get to 100 units.
Hmm.
That was the goal. We hit it. When we hit it, we looked at each other and said, that was pretty fun. Reanalyze the relationship. Always have an endpoint to partnerships.
Sure.
You can restart, but in a partnership, it shouldn't be a marriage, especially when you're starting a business partnership. We got to 100 units. It went really well. We got on Bigger Pockets a bunch of times before they decided they don't like multifamily guys. We had this fun adventure. We did it again. We went to just about 200 units together. And then he decided, like, hey, you know what? I want to spend my time coaching gymnastics. He wanted more time freedom.
Right.
I fell in love with scaling the business. I actually enjoy the employees and I like the,
Right.
we found that we had different passion and a perfect natural jumping off point. So
Yeah.
we've traded some buildings around. He has a smaller portfolio that he's able to mostly self manage. He lives right next to his buildings. He's now on city council. He now
Yeah.
coaches gymnastics. Cody, successful right sizing is something that you should do in your business. Right sizing for me, I scaled back to 100 units in Washington. Looks like I'll be taking over the resort project. And now I'm spending most of my time scaling in Texas. I think
Yeah.
at some point, I'm going to be asking you about this, but when it finally happens, we're still going to be going through we have continued pain coming in multifamily. So I'm
Hmm.
grateful for long-term fixed rate debt. I'm going to be sitting here riding through that we have the pain has started for sure. It's going to continue for the next little bit.
Yeah, I've been saying for quite a while. I mean, I was making fun of the syndicators who were taking money in 22 and 23 with bridge debt, crazy assumptions. Because I've been an accredited investor for nearly 2 decades, so I'm on lots of lists, and I'm like, guys, this deal's dead the day the money was put up. And a lot of people were like, "You're crazy. You don't know what's going on." I'm like, dude, I've seen this movie before, and the pain's coming. We're starting to hear, like, there's a lot of pain behind the scenes that nobody, unless you're around these people, and I mean, like, monster names, like names everybody would know.
Oh, and we go try to get Fannie Freddie debt today.
Yeah.
What it used to take you 45 to 60 days is taking. I'm finishing a deal, $5 million direct Fannie loan. It's taking about 5 months to get through.
Yeah.
They've already had a bunch of people get burned. The deals I am buying today, the last 2 were from syndicators who bought in 21 and 22. Both of them took about $1 million haircut from where they bought it for me to buy it. And I bought one in 10-year debt and one in 7-year debt.
Nice.
I'm okay with those timelines, and I'm okay with getting it for $1 million less than they got it a couple years ago.
Well, now, let's play this out. This is a fun conversation. So it's fun to talk about $1 million off what they bought last time, but $1 million off $120 million purchase is nothing.
Oh yeah, no, I'm doing a lot.
$1 million off $4 million is a lot.
I'm doing what I call it mid-size multifamily still. I think sub million, like commercial 5 to sub 100 unit.
Okay, so okay, that's where I play. I actually go 5 to 50, but close
so
enough.
I did a 44 unit, and I closed next week on a 76 unit, and
okay.
I did find one that's 116, which would be the biggest, but it's still right around the sweet spot.
But what is, so I don't know what's it, like 44 units, what was the cost per door?
So I bought that for $1.8 million. They're built in 2006. Clubhouse, gym, paved parking stalls, the whole thing. Beautiful buildings, large 2 beds and 1 beds. That particular,
and you bought that from a syndicator?
And I bought that one from a syndicator. They paid, I think on that one they paid about 2.5. So I got, not quite $1 million off that one, but
let's be clear. They had to have put, because again, anybody doing deals in 21, 22, they were all value add.
Yeah.
Right. So they might have bought it for 2.4, but they had a kitty of 3, 4, 500 grand for upgrades or whatever they were calling that. And so you probably did get it for $1 million.
And they did their upgrades. That is a beautiful building. We have a requirement in Texas, so it's affordable housing, but it's exiting the LIHTC program now. Part of the program in Texas, you get 50% off your property taxes if you spend $5,000 per unit in renovation every 3 years. So all of the projects that are in it's called LIHTC, but essentially it's subsidized. For those who don't know, it's you just have income limits and rent limits on your property for a fixed period of time. On those deals in Texas, they're some of the nicest buildings in town. Everyone wants Texas. Property taxes are about 2% of the purchase price.
Woo.
You want 50% off taxes. All of these buildings are gorgeous. You have new ACs, new roofs, new windows, big floor plans, and you have to figure out a way to upgrade. We were struggling to figure out, how do we actually spend our required budget? Like, what's left to improve? So we got new signage. We fixed the fence. We added some machines to the gym.
Nice.
It's a senior living facility, which is actually really needed in Stephenville, Texas. As the college expands, it's actually unfortunately pushing some of the elderly further out of town. So we have this project that's really needed, beautiful building, but it's like, what a great place to be. We have a building where it's a sincere struggle to spend the required budget on repairs and maintenance. That is a good deal, and that happened because people did variable rate debt.
Yep.
Right as interest rates spiked, with this like crazy, unrealistic belief, like, of course rates will go back down. It's like, if you guys have watched Michael Zuber for 5 seconds,
higher for longer.
There's more pain. There's more pain.
And this is actually where I'm looking as well. I think the opportunities, if you're lucky enough to play in the space, is the value add, 5 to 50, 5 to 100 unit kind of market, because if you're going to the big stuff, that's where the Ken McElroys, the Grant Cardones are going to play. It's just a different game. They're going to see a lot of those off market. But there is a lot of opportunity coming. What really blows my mind is we repeated the same sins of the Great Recession, just in a different asset class, right? Single family in 2006, 51% of loans were variable. I mean, that's just stupid. Of course, 2008 was going to be a problem because the 2-year period blew up and their payments tripled. It's exactly what happened in commercial. So I'm curious, these 2 deals that you got done or just about to get done, how did you find them? Did somebody ring you on the phone? Did you see them on Crexy, or where are you finding deals?
I've found every deal the same way. I still have never paid for software before in my life. There's 2 ways that I find deals. Way number 1, in the markets that I play in, even though I have bought in Seattle, I bought in downtown Houston, I've done deals in big cities. I play primarily in secondary markets.
Okay.
Maybe an hour to an hour and a half out of a big city. Moses Lake's even farther than that. That's probably considered somewhere between a secondary and tertiary, sub 100,000 people. But I like playing in well-established small towns that have multiple significant employers. When I'm buying these deals, you'll find in most of these markets, there's really 5 to maybe a dozen significant players in the market. You have your mom and pop people, and I absolutely meet all of them. But there's usually several people who are like, oh, yeah, this person has a couple hundred units. This person has a few hundred units. And you have a few groups who own pretty much everything. Meet them. When you sell a building, you sell to the people you know first, and people in real estate know real estate. I have found getting coffee with them has helped me find the lawyers, the accountants, the property managers, the contractors, the flooring people. They've already built a better business than you have when you're starting.
True.
Learn from them, period. That's the best thing that you can do. And what happens? They want to scale down. Their kids don't want to inherit their portfolio. They want to scale up, and they need to sell their old stuff. They get into development and they need cash. There's a billion reasons. People always ask me, like, well, why would they sell if it's cash flowing? They want to do something different.
Yeah. There's lots of reasons.
There's a multitude of reasons. What is always true, though, is before they go and list the property and put it on LoopNet, they call the people they already know who would want to buy it, which is exactly what I do. If I trade a company or a property, I call the people who are the most obvious buyers. If I've met you for coffee and I know you're trying to build, I have a duplex and I'm trying to scale to a 50-unit building, of course I'm calling you to see if you want my duplex. That's my favorite way to do it because you get all the benefits of they have money, they have strategy, they have resources. And if you guys hit it off, you get to borrow all of those fun resources.
I think this is just so awesome, right? You know, when you first brought this up, years and years ago, that you were meeting the people who owned everything. That was at the time, that was like a light bulb moment. It's like, of course you should do that. And
it's like how everyone learns to do everything.
Yeah. But the fact that you're still doing it and you haven't fallen into I'm going to go get PropStream or Property Radar, or I'm going to go do Yellow Letter or whatever, mass marketing. Because I know people that are on my channel, they do $30,000 a month in marketing cost, outbound, like postcards and stuff like that. And you're like, nope, I'm just going to go to a small town, 100,000 people. I'm going to figure out who the top 10, 15, 20 owners are, and I'm going to work my butt off to meet them.
I finally scaled this year to $800 a month for a absolutely amazing VA to help me keep my calendar organized. my biggest expense in deal finding, I was like, oh man, if I can get 2 hours back a week, that's 8 hours, $100. Wow, that's
cheap. Yeah.
8 hours of life a month back. That's pretty good. I get a whole other day. That was how I figured it. And they actually, and it turns out they end up saving me like 40 hours a month. I ended up with an amazing person on my team for $800.
There you go.
That's as far as I got in systems and expenses.
That's so awesome.
The other way that we've done this is I found that creative finance, I think people have blown it up to be cool. And I think it's mostly the online marketers have blown it up to be this cooler thing that it is. Creative finance can be best summarized as this: the least creative way to get everyone exactly what they want. Like, you want as little creative finance as humanly possible while understanding the options on how to get creative. If you can do that, you can buy a lot of deals. So a lot of the things that get listed on LoopNet or Crexy, I will honestly try to work the deals, and occasionally I buy them. But what happens is I talk to the brokers there who are listing the properties, or the people who have the deal flow, And I do an honest attempt to work the deal. And even if it happens to be one where it's like, we do have to come way off in price, or we have to propose a term they might not accept, I will call them the same day we talk about the deal. And I'll say, hey, well, here's where I'm at. And if it's not offensive to submit this offer, this is where we can write it up.
Yeah.
All of these brokers just get used to, they can talk to me. I can talk intelligently about the deal. And when they talk deal, I submit offers.
There you
What
go.
happens? They give me a bunch of off-market deals. So I end up buying a bunch of stuff off-market. But the whole thing is I'm spending like 10 minutes a day calling like 2 people in my market who I haven't talked to in a while, or calling a listing that came up in a broker I don't know yet. I'm like, we have not met. I've been playing in Stephenville, Texas. They're like, oh, what does that mean? I'm like, well, I heard about the town a year ago. I have done 4 years. I have 181 units there now. It's not rocket science. And it worked in Mason County, Washington. It worked in Moses Lake, Washington. It worked in Stephenville, Texas. It worked in Houston, Texas. Like,
I'm going to go a little bit deeper here because this is actionable for people today, right? If people believe what I believe, that the opportunity for true life-changing, like generational wealth is going to be built in this multifamily collapse that's going to occur over the next, I don't know, it could last 18 months. It could last 30 months, depending on how the banks want to act.
I need it to last less than 7 years. If it lasts less than 7 years, my strategy works.
There you go. Yeah, it'll be less than, I can't imagine it being 7 years. That's
that is my assumption too. In 7 years, if we're wrong, I'll hop back on. I'll be like, guys,
no, whoops.
I'm out.
I'm out. No, but the idea here is get your, again, just to use my vocabulary, right? Folks, get your buy box, i.e. Stevenson, Texas. Get your asset type. In this case, we're talking 5 to call it 100 units. And start meeting, you said 2 new people a week, right? If we look at my ORAT rules, which I keep handy, what is it? Number 3, grow your network. Meet 2 new people a week. We did not even talk about this. Look at that.
Oh, there we go.
Number 3. And if you do that and you do it intelligently, like i.e. I'm trying to buy in Stevenson, Texas. Oh, by the way, you have a resume, right? I have 186 units. I own property ABC on XYZ streets. And, I saw your listing at 123 Main Street. Even if 123 Main Street doesn't go anywhere, they now know you're a serious buyer. And then, oh, by the way, if you have seller financing questions or creative questions, they're going to remember you, because all you want to do in this next cycle is you want to be the first, second, or third phone call.
Exactly.
That's what you want to be.
Exactly right. You just want to be you just want to get a legitimate shot. And the biggest thing that I found that made the difference is I always submit an actual offer.
Yeah, write it up. Not words, not text. Write it up.
Yeah. And I skipped the LOI thing. There's a bunch of groups out there who's like, their metric for their success of their students is how many LOIs did you write? I'm like, how many LOIs bought a property?
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, well, you know, it's really fun when you write an offer and they accept it. You're now under contract and it's your deal. If I have something complicated, an LOI is a nice outline. If I have like, hey, we are getting a little creative here, and so I want to make sure we all understand what we're writing up. That's what a letter of intent is good for.
Yeah.
If I'm writing a conventional offer, I'm like, you know what's better than an LOI? I'll just let's write an offer and get it accepted.
There you go. There you go.
Easy way to play. But yeah, if you can have these conversations, and meeting 2 people a week, that's
not hard. It's not hard.
It's a maybe 10-minute a day project. That's all you need to do to buy properties. That's what I spend on acquisition. If you're wondering why guys like Michael and I have time to run a YouTube channel and to coach people and to run our I run property management, and I do too many businesses. I don't have any time.
Yeah, you got to get a little focus there, young man.
But if you know why, if you're like, how do you guys have time to do all this? It's because acquisition, once you get it down, it doesn't really take very much time at all. It is
that's beautiful.
Simple, repeatable thing.
I just want to hit it one more time, because if you want actionable information, you want to take advantage of this generational wealth building, do what Christian is doing. Get your buy box, get location, get known, and go meet and talk to the agents who control inventory. Because again, the end of that conversation should be you want to get on the list. You want to be the first, second, or third phone call when a deal comes. Because here's the deal, folks. The deals that end up on Crexie or LoopNet are the ones they could not sell to their network. Yep. Let's not get it twisted. The ones you want to get something before it gets there.
Yeah.
You know,
It's rare that I'll buy something off of LoopNet or Crexy, and the ones that I buy there are usually the ones where it's like, "This has been on market for 600 days." And I'm like I'm
exactly.
like I'm like, "Well,
Guess
I
what?
wonder if there's a creative solution here. Let's map out the pieces."
Yeah.
And 80% of them are you talk to the broker, like, the seller wants a crazy price, and they won't negotiate. I'm like, "Okay, cool. Well, that's probably
Yeah.
not gonna work."
Wish pricing. Buy. Yeah.
Yep.
Got it.
Or sometimes they're like, well, they've recently voiced that they'll carry seller financing on 30-year terms. Well, okay, well, this may be
Hey,
worth a little bit more in 30 years.
let's have that conversation.
Yeah. Where I think people get really caught up who are new to creative finance is they get excited. We're like, oh, the seller will carry for 3 years. Amazing terms for 3 years is not very amazing debt. If
I
all
would.
the value is in the
Yeah.
terms, this is what I screwed up on the resort purchase, by the way. I'll fully admit that. We have 8-year terms, but I won on terms, and I thought I overpaid by a little bit. As I've learned hospitality, which I did not bother to learn before putting in my offer, I massively overpaid and got amazing terms. You end up in a position where it's like, yeah, if once the debt expires, I'm back to being in a conventional bad position. And so you always want to make sure if you're going to get creative and if the value is in the terms, your terms are ludicrously long, like a
Yeah.
decade or
I
longer.
will. I remember that one of the scariest situations we had when we were building our portfolios, we had a 5-year seller finance note come due in 2010. And if you know anything about
Excellent timing.
2010, yeah, that was well. It actually turned out to be great, but I did not know that at the time.
Oh yeah.
Uh, it turned out to be great because everything sucked and the seller didn't want it back. It's like, I don't want it
Oh,
back. I'll give you another 5 years.
that is funny enough. That's pretty much what's panning out with the resort. Seller's not going to want it back, and it ends up being a happy ending. I'm going to be
Yeah.
able to pull it off,
But
but
I didn't know that. I did not. When that 5-year note came due and the building was underwater, and I'm like, well, this sucks. I have to make this phone call. Turned out okay, but that was a scary situation.
I've seen that happen a few times too. I've had friends who bought deals and what they ran into. I've seen this multiple times. They raise enough to close the deal, not enough to reno it, not enough to do a reserve.
Ooh.
It's the newer investors who are like, I can get in for $0. I'm like, you can. You
Yeah.
can't
But
start with $0. You have to actually have a deal that
yeah.
has money in it. And so they end up in this thing where like one tenant moves out. And they're like, well, now my
Yeah.
cash flow went down. How am I going to reno this? I'm like, with your reserve? We had to have a reserve? It's like, yes.
Ah! Whoops.
I've seen some buildings. I've seen some buildings amicably go back to the seller where they're like,
Of
hey,
course.
I'm in trouble. I really don't want to get foreclosed on. And I've seen the seller
Yeah.
like, well, I appreciate the down payment you gave me. I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and
Thank
keep
you very
that.
much. Yeah. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I've seen some where the seller's like, I've seen one where they just rewrote the terms. They're like, okay, well, good news. I would have accepted a lot less. Let's go ahead and trade again because I do not want the building back,
There you go.
which is a common thing, especially in today's
That-
market.
That's crazy. Well, let's get on to something. I know, again, you've done a lot of self-management. It was back to your point about running lots of businesses. One of the things that I would coach you on and have told you privately is, dude, you got to get a little bit more focused.
Oh,
You're doing some low value things, and I honestly consider property management the worst job on the planet. Let's not get it
I
twisted.
absolutely agree. I have thoughts on how this works. Actually, I'm recently discovering this for myself, so I would be I could have used the coaching as I am entering year 5 of buying a lot of multifamily, arguably too fast. I am really learning a lot. Property management is low margin, high liability,
High
lots of work,
stress.
high
Yeah.
stress. I have some utility for it, but I would love to talk PM. I'm learning the difference between
Yeah. The, the,
good
the
and
key,
excellent.
the key to building a decent portfolio and having a quality life, and that's the thing, right? You can go big and then be a PM and have a horrible life,
Mhm.
or you can go big and have a great life. There's a huge difference between a good property manager and a top 5%, top 1% property manager.
Mhm.
So if you can find them, and it's not impossible, but it's also not easy. And I tell you this with full humbleness. I fired the first 5, right?
Mhm.
So it's not like I figured this out early. I didn't figure this out till like year 5 or 6 of my journey. But yeah, if you get a property manager, like, Olivia and I have nearly 200 units And we haven't spent more than, I want to make sure this is accurate, more than 5 hours, maybe 8 hours a month ever in the last decade on our portfolio. That's a pretty good quality of life.
That's a very good quality of life.
Yeah.
If you are coming to Christian for time freedom, I can tell you 0 things about that. If you go to Christian, how to scale aggressively and obsessively, I can help you there.
You're the boy, right? You got that.
Yeah,
That's all you.
but no, I seem to like pain. I'll share the logic behind it. This is because I buy in these secondary and tertiary markets. It is harder to find a good property manager there. And I would still argue in Grant County, Washington, I have been operating that market for a long time now. I've owned property management companies. I've sold my property management in that market. There are no excellent property manager. I've worked with excellence. There is no excellent property manager in that market. You cannot find it. I made a lot of money. If you have 100 units and they're all studios and you can manage to a level where you can get rent up $100. This was when it was a 6 cap market then. Now it's, I would say it's probably I'm still getting appraisals at a 7, but it really is trading closer to an 8 right now.
Yeah.
Which makes sense when rates are 7. You're
gotta have margin.
Markets, unless you're in a crazy market, you find the cap rate likes to sit a little bit higher than the interest rate.
Oh, especially in a tertiary market. You're not getting 7 caps. There's no chance.
Yeah, it is hard. It's still high growth, but it's just it's a weird market there. When we are competing in those markets, I have found when I started, I could get 100 units, $100 more a month, and that makes you $2 million. And you take that income.
Do the math. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys can run the math on that and Google cap rates. We won't break it down here, but it's $100 over 100 unit increase on a 6 cap market. When I started, it was worth every second of my time to make $2 million.
Sure.
To get out of the 9 to 5, it was worth it. If I could go back in time, I would make the same decision. I would say,
of course. Yeah. You had, yes.
Today, I would not do that. When I entered Stephenville, I bought 2 buildings, a 25 and a 26, where rents were $550. The college is the fastest growing college in the U.S. this year. Last year,
which college is that?
Tarleton State University. It's part of the A&M system.
Okay.
It is amazing to watch them grow. When I entered that market a year and a half ago, they're 20,000 students. They're now 24,000 students. They're going to be over 30,000. They just went Division I in sports. They play Baylor and A&M and all that. They're a legitimate, awesome school, amazing engineering program. And then you still have a booming industrial and booming dairy industry. They have the second largest rodeo in Texas. They have all this fun culture. You have a bunch of famous golfers. I know nothing about golf, but they have a bunch of famous golfers that come out of Stephenville for whatever reason. They breed great golfers. It's a really, really, really cool place. When I'm investing there, I do my market analysis. Rents should be $950 to a little over $1,000. I'm buying these buildings that are rented at $550 because they have horrible managers. My sole goal going to Texas and selling my PM company, I never want to go into PM again. The first thing I do is I get down there and go like, we're going to raise rent $400 over 100 units. I don't trust anyone else to do this. And I started it again. Here's what I learned. We're good property managers. There's a difference between good and excellent.
Oh, yeah.
I can keep unit turns moving. I can vet good contractors. When we have 10 unit turns in a couple months, they're all done and they're all leased. You make a lot of money doing that. I recently, through meeting owners, met a property manager who is silently managing there. They market 0%. You don't know them unless you know them. They live in a different city where they also have property management. Family company around 35 years. She had a model to where her average, she beats this in most units, but her average turn time from move out to lease is 48 hours. She manages about 800 units, and I looked at the rent roll, and they are currently 100% occupied. They have not a single.
Wow.
I didn't know that was possible. My unit turns and doing like 10 medium turns and taking a couple months is slow, but it's not snail pace. Like we keep.
No, it's not unheard of.
And I do them. We work like 3 at a time, so there's stuff coming online. We're constantly leasing. That's good. She comes in. She looks at them. She's like, "You guys have 10 units, medium turns. We're going to start on Monday. We'll have this done by Friday." Oh my! That is. I
Yes,
looked at my
please.
portfolio and I'm like, I looked at the vacancy that I've had through the last year, and I'm like, if I did my style to her style, that's $70,000 of rent, just vacancy
Yeah.
loss.
You never get
That
that
is
back.
a lot of money.
It is. Yeah.
My solution, I love scaling companies and I love marketing. For me, what I did for PM is I said, you drive the ship. She loves being in the weeds. Her struggle is she's like, I will go to every single property, and if there's a weed out of place, I'll pull it myself.
Mm,
She has a struggle with cloning herself. She needs to
sure.
be hands-on in everything.
Mm,
I manage in Waco, Texas, and Abilene, Texas, and Fort Worth, and Stephenville, Texas. I like expansion, and I love marketing and strategy, and it takes me this much time.
mm.
And if I had the option of going to a football game or sitting by my computer and coming up with a marketing strategy, I would choose marketing every day of the week. That is a game that I would play regardless of how much freedom I have. I love that game.
Mm.
So we have adjusted the company to I do the expansion. I still walk the properties occasionally. I still do the accounting because that takes me about 2 hours a month. I spend time on it every day, and it takes no time because it is easy and I have systems and people. My time freedom comes from finding someone who is truly excellent. I'm doing this in every single company now. I
Nice.
will, at some point, one day, I will find a buyer for that resort, and I will not be in hospitality. That was a stupid thing. Michael, our good friend Dion, sold me that was a good idea. That was a stupid idea. Thank you, Dion, for making me dilute my business into he's like, this is way too active for me. You should try a hard project. That was
You're young. Give it a shot.
his pitch was literally, you are young and dumb enough to do this. I'm like, I am young and dumb enough to do this.
He was right.
He was absolutely right. I am stupid. I'm going to get out of hospitality. I'm going to take the day-to-day of property management. I'm going to give it to someone who is
Yeah.
passionate about it, who is good at it. And she loves PM.
There you go.
She is
Once you
someone,
find that, it's an unlock.
and some people love it, and some people should do it. And those are people who don't need to be investors, and they don't need to run other companies. They don't need to
Mm.
do their thing. Here's what I found that I truly love. I love coaching real estate. I want to be in the deals. I want to look at, like a lot of real estate guys, you find this is very common. People who love real estate. Their friends love real estate. They all talk real estate. We're like board game geeks, except for instead of Magic the Gathering, we like properties. It's just what it is. I love my group multifamily strategy. That is also, I'm not very social. So that is also selfishly my only social outlet. I'm like,
There you go.
wow, people, we get to hang out with all these real estate guys. I love that. That is something that is always worth my time, period. I love doing that. I love growing a company and providing opportunities to people and getting that part of PM I can do. I want the 10-hour a month in heady business stuff. I want that time freedom now because I've been a dad for 9 months and I never cared about it until now. And
There you
now
go.
I'm at that point where I'm like, what is better, being a dad or feeling like you're good at business? And it can be worth it when you start.
There you go.
Playing business is not more important than being a dad now. So now
That's
Christian is
awesome.
going, let's move from I want control, which I think every 9-to-5er, that's your next step. And I don't even know that it's a wrong next step. Mike, we may or may not agree. I don't know. I think that move, I think everyone should do it and go through the like, hey, I did put on all the hats and I put on too many hats and I understand all these roles and I understand that I don't actually want control. And I think people actually need to move from 9 to 5 to I do control my time and I'm not the one who should be controlling all my time and in the businesses. And now we're scaling to a model of intelligently diversified competence.
Love
Every
that.
role in my company outside of the things that I love and the best at. I'm like, I love marketing. I love negotiating. Like sales and marketing, slot me there for life. I love it. Let me do it.
That's
Everything
awesome.
else should have someone else who is that passionate about their lane. And I will give whatever salary, whatever equity to not be in those lanes. I don't want to pull weeds. I am still happy if I'm at a property and we have a unit turn. I'm going to do this on Saturday. I'm going with some of my investors to walk the properties. I've never seen some of the buildings that we own together. I'm driving it with my friends. There are 2 units that are ready to go, but we need to swap a toilet, and they're lower on my list of contractor stuff. Absolutely, I'll spend 45 minutes swapping 2 toilets to get 2 units
Nice.
online.
There you
I'll
go.
still do that stuff if I'm physically there, but I don't want to be a toilet swapper. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one who is on site and 6 of your tenants come up and they go like, "Hey, I never bothered to submit this work order in my portal, but now that I see you here and you're the guy on YouTube and I know you own my building," which guys, that's the cost of being on YouTube.
Yeah.
But when your tenants come out, "My microwave's been broken for 6 months. I never submitted a work order." I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be the guy who fixes the microwave. I want to be the guy who gets to reinvest into my community and have my time back. That is the 3 levels that I went through. You can shorten the control one by a lot, but you can go from excellence in your work to I can control my universe and realize that that is not what anyone wants as far as your company is, to I actually do want a balance of I want to pursue business that I am passionate about and I do want to scale, but I don't want that to be my entire life. I watch like Alex Hormozy and like I look at that and I'm like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
A few $1 million, awesome. Very hard to spend through. Amazing. 7-figure earning, phenomenal. The $100 million thing, not worth all of your time at all. Diminishing returns. His whole like never have kids, don't have pets. Secretly, I'm down with the not pet thing, but don't tell my wife that. My 2 cats and my dog. But that model of wake up, grind, go to bed, grind, scale.
Yeah, to him, it's his game, right? If you're lucky enough to find your thing and that's you, don't judge it. But it's certainly not most people.
But know what you want. That was the difference between Cody and Davis and I. We wanted the same thing. We wanted the same thing. We wanted different things.
Yeah.
We amicably parted ways in the partnership. He had some strategies that I didn't agree with. I had some business aggression that he didn't agree. He's like, I don't want Cody had a point where he's like, I didn't go to college and I've never had a job because guess what I want to do? Not have a job.
Yeah. And I'm there.
Christian wants to have jobs.
There you go.
Normal way to end a partnership. The goals no longer align. And then you figure out, okay, well, now we have a ton of pieces. Let's divvy them up. And over the course of a year, Cody and I, in about 8 weeks, will have exactly 0 businesses together. And it was a perfectly successful partnership. Both of us are, unless Cody secretly hates me, I don't think he does. Perfectly successful partnership. We have a great friendship now, and we ended as friends instead of partners. What a fantastic business venture. That's what I think most partnerships should look like.
Yeah, and most don't.
Stay married.
Stay married. Exactly. Well, Christian, you have a growing YouTube channel, actually a monster channel. You got the silver play button behind you. What is it? People find you?
So multifamily strategy on YouTube, on Instagram. I'm Christian Osgood. I'm fortunate enough to have a unique enough name where I can do that, just like Michael Zuber. I don't know any other Michael Zubers. Cody Davis, unfortunately, there's a
few.
of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's multifamily strategy. You guys can check that out. I do not post as much as Michael does, but we do have a few thousand videos there, and that has been a really fun thing to get to share. So if you guys want to dive into some of the creative and a whole lot of the stuff, Michael, I have to do everything trial and error. I have to do everything the expensive way.
There you go.
I think this is what we did best on this channel. I share everything that I do wrong. And what I find is that those videos get a billion times more views than this is really practical and it'll make you $1 million. The things where I'm like, but along the way, this lost me $50,000 and I did it 7 times over. Those things, I think we did a really good job of giving an honest, in the field, this is what it actually looks like to be an investor. So you guys want to hop on the channel and learn some creativity and learn the highs and the lows. That is what that channel is all about. You guys are more welcome to join. And
there you go. One more time. What's the name?
Multifamily Strategy.
There you go, folks. Give him a follow. Check it out. Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely.